I was raped twice, and that really impacted my life negatively.
We may look different and live in different countries, yet our stories are knitted with the same threads of excitement, uncertainties, challenges, and victories. As we journey through the ups and downs of life, it is our undeniable will and God's strength that propel us to joy after pain, smile after frowns, and ups after downs. We were born to win. We were destined to greatness. We are overcomers. Welcome to GodScoop's raw and unedited stories. Welcome to Raw and Unedited Stories, the place where stories are told to uplift, encourage, and to brighten your day. Thank you for those who have already subscribed to our channel. And for those who have not, now is the time to do so. Remember, click the notification bell, and you will see many, many more stories like these every week. Today, we have a special woman all the way from Trinidad to share her story. Camika, welcome to Raw and Unedited Stories. How are you?
Hi, Patricia. I'm fine. It's such a blessing to be here.
Yes, it's awesome to have you. And before you begin to tell your story, we want you to tell our audience who you are and just a synopsis of yourself.
Sure. So, my name is Camika McClatchy, and I am the founder of an organization called RISE, WRYS. It stands for Woman Rediscover Your Strength. And that organization seeks to help persons who have been affected by abuse, all types of abuse. And I'm also a survivor of domestic violence.
Awesome, awesome. I'm sure your story will be that story that will help so many women who are experiencing domestic abuse and those who have already experienced it. So let us know your story.
Okay, so they begin from the beginning. So basically I'll just start off telling you about my childhood. I grew up in an extended family, just my mom and with my grandma, my uncles, aunts. My dad was never there. And that really affected my life growing up. I always wanted to have that father figure there, always wanted to have that sense of security from that male. However, he was not there. And I remember, like, when I was in primary school and I would see the other children with their fathers, I would make up stories about where my dad was. Sometimes I would say he works in the military, he's a soldier, that's why he's not around. I'd make up a lot of stories. uh, Going from there, at the age of 14, I was raped by an acquaintance in my neighborhood, someone who was much older than me. And decided that I would tell this one good friend I had. And when I told him, his response to that was to rape me as well. So within the space of 3 days, I was raped twice. And that really impacted my life negatively. From there on in, I developed this hatred for men and I felt like I needed to get back at men. Now, the thing is that at 14, what do I really know about life? What do I really know about anything? I grew up very sheltered. So, in my attempt to get back at men, I felt that I would use my body. That was what I felt I could do to get back at them. So I would, get into relationship with guys, sometimes guys older than me, sometimes adult men. I would get into these relationships. And once I'm sure that that person is into me, I would do whatever I could to hurt them and move on to the next person. Now,
Um,
go
Camille,
ahead.
I before you continue your story, and let's backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
On the first day, you experience abuse from men, and also betrayal.
Yes.
Also, on top of that, you were looking for a father figure all your life,
Yes.
and I just want to use this time to really say I'm sorry for what you went through. I'm really, really sorry that a little girl who's looking for love or found it in an abusive place. I am so sorry. Let's continue with your story.
So going from there, as I said, I would do whatever it took to hurt these men in my mind. The thing is that although I was popular and well known, I was very, very unhappy. So there were times I tried to take my life. I was very suicidal. I hated myself. I cannot understand what really was my purpose on the earth. And there was nothing that I liked about myself. I hated myself. And I continued with this behavior from the age of 14. When I was 16, I met someone who was in a gang. And because of what he presented to me, I felt that that person would protect me. So
Sorry. What
then
did you say? What did you say he was in? I
he was in
missed.
a gang. He
Huh?
was a gang leader.
A leader, a gang leader. Oh, okay. Got you. Yes.
So that violence or that false sense of security, I identified with that and felt that he would protect me. And I got involved with him. He was much older than me. However, that violence I saw was soon turned on me. And that was the first time I experienced physical abuse. So I remember this one time that he choked me until I blacked out. And from there on in, I was so afraid of him. However, I knew that I needed to get out of that relationship, and I did everything in my power to get out. Mind you, I never shared anything with my mom or anyone, any adults. I kept everything to myself. So what I would do, I would stay back after school really late. I would jump over the back fence of my school. I would pass the longer way to get home because he would usually wait at the corner of my school for me. So I was able to get out of the relationship eventually after a while, but that had already scarred me. And like most cases of abuse, when you are abused or you go through things like that, you lose your self worth, you lose everything about yourself. So I didn't really think of myself as valuable. And of course, still having that gaping hole to have that father in my life. After that, I met this person that I would call Mr. Prince Charming. That's the person that I ended up marrying. So, one thing I want to say is that when you are dealing with abusers, they are always Mr. or Mrs. Prince Charming. To the
Mm-hmm.
outside world, they are the best. But when you are in a relationship with them, then you are able to see certain signs, you're able to see certain things. Their behavior is totally different. So
Mm-hmm.
I met Mr. Prince Charming. We courted for 6 years. In that 6 year period, I had two children with him. And after the 6 years, we got married. I became a Christian and we got married. Now, during the first 6 years, there were a lot of warning signs. And that's why it's important for us to speak about abuse because many people can't identify those warning signs like I once couldn't identify them.
Yeah. Would you say that women who have a need for fathering or lack their father figure or the father's love as a child, they gravitate towards the wrong men? Can you speak to that?
Yes, I totally agree with that. If they're, you see, children usually look towards their fathers to learn certain things, especially females. Many times that's where you're going to have an idea of the kind of husband or the kind of mate you would want later down in life. So without that father figure present, without that being your life, you get a very skewed mindset or idea of what you want in a man because there was no one there to teach you that. The other thing is, I believe that fathers are there to protect and they are there to really give their daughters a certain type of love, right? Even males, even sons need that type of love. Fathers are there to affirm their daughters, to really teach them that they are valuable and to teach them that they are worthy. So, from a tender age, when a father is present in a child's life, they provide that sense of security and teach them about their value. So without when that is missing, then there is something there. There is a gaping hole, and as you said, if you look for love in the wrong places, what you're going to get, you're going to fill that hole with it, but it's not going to be the right type of love or the
Yes.
right type of affirmations that you need growing up.
Yes, and I am really looking forward to hear when you found the Heavenly Father and the contrast there. Let's talk about that.
So during, well, as I said, I got married, and I felt I got married because I believed that at that time, God would just change that person, my ex-husband, and everything would be okay. We would live happily ever after. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that God does not force himself on persons, and if you don't want to change, God is not going to force that change on you. So things did not get better in that aspect. But what I learned during the marriage is that difficulties do not come to destroy you, but rather difficulties come to reveal who you are inside. So during the difficult period, during the abusiveness, God was there for me, and He still is. I learned how to trust in Him. I learned how to have faith in Him. My faith was built up. There were many times my life was threatened, and I know now when I look back that it was only because of God that I am alive today. So I saw His delivering power. I saw His protection. I saw that, there's a scripture that says that you run into His name is a safe tower. And I have learned, I have seen that, I have experienced that in a tangible way. And one thing I want to really say is that God proved Himself to be a tangible Father to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that void that was there over time, the Lord filled it with His love. And I always say that He loved me into submission. So His love changed my life. It wasn't like a forced thing. Because of the way God loved me and because of His protection in my life, I fell in love with God.
Praise the Lord. And tell us, how did that impact your relationship with men?
So today, because healing is a process, right? And it takes a while to be totally healed. So
Mm-hmm.
today, being out of the marriage 10 years, God really started to just love on me. And I started to realize that I was valuable. The more I read His word, I started to realize who I was in Christ and what I meant to Him. And that changed my perspective. I understood that not all men are bad or exhibit bad qualities or characteristics. And even those that may have bad characteristics, they are also going through stuff. Things may have happened to them in their childhood as well to impact them today. So I've learned not to judge, but to love everyone with an unconditional love. And I understand that there are good men in our midst. For me, I really believe that if you just wait and allow God to heal you, He can bring that right person into your life.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to ask you to use this time to talk to women who are in an abusive relationship. Talk to them on some of the ways to get out.
So the first thing I want to tell them is that you are valuable and you are worthy and you are worthy of love. You are worthy of the best. So if it is that you are in this type of relationship, I would advise you to find someone that you can trust, a trusted individual, a friend or a family member, and start sharing with them so they can be a sense of support. Because when you are in this type of relationship, you need mental, emotional, and physical support. Outside of that, I want to encourage you to make a report to your local police station. And I know a lot of people are a bit hesitant to do something like this, but the reason I always encourage this, you never know what will happen later down the road. And then there would be no evidence that you were going through abuse. So I want to encourage you to make a report. I want to encourage you to start planning a way out of this. If you are married, I am not saying that you have to be divorced, but a separation, indeed, I would advise because your life can be at risk. So if you take a separation, then at a time, during that time, different things can come into play. Different types of intervention, probably counseling, different things. And if it is that that is not working, then I would say maybe a divorce. right?
Mhm.
But I want to encourage you, exit strategies. I don't really go into much details for exit strategies because we never know who is listening, right? But
Mhm.
having a trusted individual is important. And as you plan the exit strategy, what I would say is you find very secretive ways to plan your exits, and you do not discuss it with anyone but maybe that trusted individual. Because remember, when you plan your exit, your perpetrator should not know where you are, your perpetrator should not know that you are planning to leave, and also in the planning, you should have a way, even if it is like you plan maybe to just save a little cash, because I know there's financial abuse as well, right? So, as small as it is, you try to put aside something so when you get out, you would not be dependent on someone.
And I'm glad you said the financial issues that women face when it comes to leaving a man who is abusive. And I was going to ask you, how do you advise or suggest ways to escape or exit for those women who solely depend on the men for their bread and butter?
So, because now, when you are dependent on that man for your bread and butter, it makes it even more difficult, right? And that is where someone being there to support you can help, maybe financially. If not, so most countries have safe houses, and if you report to the police, they most likely will remove you at a safe house. Now, at that safe house, you get a chance to breathe and you get a chance to catch yourself, and also you would be able, well, they will take care of your meals and so on for a while, right? Now it depends, each country there is a different time limit that you can stay in a safe house, so that provides a certain way of escape where the financial abuse is taking place, right? So what I want to say, Patricia, is that my organization, together with another organization here in Trinidad, we are working on developing a safe house where there would not be a time limit. We'd be able to really help these ladies all around and all around, so they learn life skills and they would be able to take care of themselves when they get out of that relationship. So we teach them life skills, we teach them how to support themselves financially, and we really work on getting them to be able to stand on their 2 feet, so there would be no dependence, or they would not be able to go, they would not have to go back into a relationship that's toxic.
And for those who cannot find a safe house, would you suggest that they find they find a friend, a place where they call their safe house, where they can be
Yes,
protected?
yes, I would suggest that. And I just want to say that in finding that safe person, you still have to be very, very careful, right? Because you may think that that's your friend or that's your relative, but remember, abusers are very manipulative. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they can convince that person that you are the one that's the problem. And that person may go back and say, she's planning to leave or she's planning X, Y, and Z. So you really have to be sure that you can trust that person. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to put in something here. If you have kids and you're planning to leave, please do not tell your children, because they can be easily manipulated and they can share that information with that abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you saying, him. I want to just say that females are also abusers.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the children because I was just getting to that. How do you protect your children during this time?
Patricia, protecting your children is very difficult because once the children are in that house, even if they are not being abused physically, they would see and hear enough that would cause enough trauma to them.
Yes.
I am sure you think you have heard where couples say, well, they don't hear us arguing, they don't know that we vex. That is not true. That's a myth. If
Mm-hmm.
you go back into your childhood, I'm sure you knew when people in your home were upset, even if you didn't hear them.
Mm-hmm.
So children are fully aware of what's happening, and that causes trauma for them. And the thing about children, when they see abuse or they experience abuse, like between a mother and a father. That puts a blueprint in their mind. It's almost like when you're building a house, you have a plan. So it's a blueprint that is in their brain. Remember, abuse is it's learned behavior. So when they see this and they live in it for too long, they learn that behavior. And many times they become abusers themselves or they become victims because
I,
if they see that.
I hear you talking. I hear you talking about counseling, and so would you suggest that both parents, the abused parent and the children, go to counseling together to overcome the trauma so that it doesn't carry on?
I do. I strongly suggest it. So if I look back at my own children's lives, I have seven children. And if I look back, especially at the first four, what I felt that I had protected them from, I saw it being played out in their lives. So I saw my eldest daughter getting into abusive relationships. I saw my eldest son sometimes being verbally abusive, even the other two boys. And it's a constant learning process. I always have to speak to them. That's not how you speak to a female. That's not the type of things you say. And it's a constant process, and we had to do a lot of counseling to
Mhm.
get them to a place where they are at now, where they can recognize their triggers, especially for the boys, and know when to pull back, know when to walk away. So it was a long road, and it still is, but God has helped us. So that's why I say, see, children, if you have children, if you can't leave for yourself, leave to save them.
Yes, I thank you, Kamika, for all that you do for abused women, and I'm also thank God that you had the strength to walk away from it. Some people never had the strength.
Yeah.
They stayed until they were killed
Yes.
and they lost their lives. And so you had the strength to get out. And I just want to use this time briefly to just talk to us about the how empowered you felt when you got out, and what are some of the things that you're doing with your program, and just tell our audience the name of your program again so they can
So
pick it up.
personally, when I left, it was the best feeling in the world. Even up to today, that feeling remains with me. I actually feel like I got a second chance at life. And because of that second chance at life, I believe that I must use it wisely. I believe God gave me the second chance to help those who don't have a voice, to be that voice for those who can't speak out, and to be able to walk with them because some of them have no one. So I believe that I need to use this opportunity to walk with them, to help them to find their liberty and their freedom as well. My organization, the name of the organization is RISE. So it's WRYS, stands for Woman Rediscover Your Strength. And at the organization, we do counseling for those who have been affected. Sometimes we help with groceries. We team up with other NGOs. There is one such NGO we team up with called ITNAC, is there another cause? And we help sometimes to give them hampers. ITNAC has transition homes, so sometimes we're able to place persons in a transition house. Right now, RISE, which is my NGO, we have started a program called Heal My Purple Hearts. And that program really deals with all the aspects of life that are affected when you go through abuse. So it runs for 8 months, and I take persons through the entire 8 month period where I deal with their self esteem, I deal with their parenting skills, I teach them how a man should treat you and what you should expect. I teach them about not having their dads in their life and how they can allow God to fill that place. So I help them to basically rediscover themselves, and I walk them through that process. At the end of the 8 month period, we have a really nice dinner graduation period, and then I take in a new set of persons. So that's one of the newest ventures that my organization is doing right now.
Thank you, Kamika, for sharing, and thank you for all that you do for women and girls. And I just I'm so impressed and encouraged by your story, and I know many women will. So thank you. And also, thank you for our audience for tuning in to Raw and Unedited Stories, the place where stories are told to uplift, encourage, and to brighten your day. And if you have not subscribed, now is the time to do so. Remember, click the notification bell for many more stories like these. And if you have a story to share, leave your information in the description link below and we will reach out to you. And please have yourself a phenomenal day.